welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason, and this week I am going to be customising this Matchbox Ferrari 308 GTB. It looks like a former owner really wanted a blacked out version of the model, having covered it in black marker across the red body, the visible silver portions, and the window piece. The underside went unscathed. I think this casting would have once had a giant prancing horse emblem on the front with Ferrari lettering to the sides. This though is what I'm aiming to recreate today, using these decals from Le Mans Decals and a combination of Campagnolo 5-spoke rims labelled as Lancia Stratos wheels from Creative 164. Both decals and wheels look highly accurate, so they should make for a good final product, as long as the somewhat clumsily cast 308 plays ball. You see, this model to me has a roof that is a touch too long, and so is a touch too shallow on the windscreen as a result. The front arches and bonnet also don't rise up enough to give the car a more muscly appearance. It's not a terrible casting though, don't get me wrong. I just have a slight preference to the Corgi Junior's 308 GTS, which I customised on the channel for my 250th episode. That was in such a terrible state to begin with, so maybe I look at that one through rose-tinted spectacles a little, purely because of that result. To be fair, this one isn't exactly in sparkling condition either. The 308 GTB was released in the latter days of Matchbox under Lesney prior to their bankruptcy. A result of this and the shift of production to Macau means that only a few iterations sport Lesney England on their bases. Models were either red to orangey red all over, with a matching colour or silver base. Some issues had a large Ferrari emblem on the front, with Ferrari lettering tampos to the sides of the base, or none at all. All Lesney issues came with the 5-arch wheel design like mine had. After 1982, with the Universal Toys takeover, models began being produced in Macau. These borrowed the previous designs and combined them with the older style 5 square spoke wheels. In 1985, the casting received a new livery, which proved to be the inspiration for today's project. This design was loosely based on the 1982 Tour de Corse entry of the Charles Pozzi team. That car carried a red, white and blue livery with prominent Pioneer advertising. The casting does a reasonably good job in replicating this, carrying the number 39 of Guy Chassuis and co-driver Christian Baron. This model had a few years unchanged in the Matchbox mainline between 1985 and 1987, as well as a further year in the rest of world mainline for 1988. It would leave the mainline after this point, but there were some other iterations available. In 1986 and 87, its body was repainted yellow with a red front and base, with Ferrari and 308 GTB wording. These were released with the Starburst wire wheels for the Superfast series, before the body design was reused for the 1990 Laser Wheels line. In 1989, it formed part of Series 1 of the World Class Premium line, where it received rubber Goodyear branded wheels, extra trim detailing, and a mirror finish window piece that obscured the interior. A basic red model with a large coloured Ferrari badge to the front appeared in 3-packs and Ferrari gift sets in 1990 and 1991. These models were produced in both Macau and Thailand. The casting was revived for one final time in 1998 as part of the Premier Star Cars collection. It was a bit of a cynical attempt to paint the car as a 308 GTS, badging it Magnum PI. This had a black painted roof and pillars to try to disguise its hardtop as a Targa. It also carried a yellow, orange and black detailed interior, very period 5-spoke concave wheels, and, just as Thomas Magnum drove around with, Magnum PI emblazoned across the hood. Do you agree with me now that that was a touch cynical? These late models were produced in China before the die was retired. As you can see, I've managed to remove a lot of the black marker from the window piece, but there is still a lot left to do to get it looking closer to how it should. I covered much of the 308's history in my Corgi GTS build, so today I'll focus on the car's motorsport credentials. Following the GTB's 1975 introduction, Giuliano Michelotto began developing and producing rallying versions from 1978. Michelotto ran a Ferrari dealership and race preparation workshop based out of Padua, Italy, completely independent of Ferrari but retaining a close working relationship with Ferrari factory engineers. GTBs were produced initially to Group 4 specification for the World Rally Championship. Then in 1980, Michelotto began providing cars to Nico Grasoli, who provided the funding for their efforts, enabling greater assistance from the Ferrari factory. Ferrari were under Fiat's ownership at the time. Lancia were the Fiat Group's official WRC entry. Despite Fiat controlling competition activity for member brands, Michelotto and Grasoli were able to obtain official Ferrari factory support. They supplied bare 308 GTB chassis and engines for Michelotto to build into complete rally cars. They installed lightweight tubular frame chassis sections made of steel and titanium, including a roll cage and a modified engine bay to allow easier maintenance access. The engines were the early 2 valves per cylinder type, fitted with high compression pistons, revised valves, cams, bearings and spark plugs. They also used Bosch Kugelfischer mechanical fuel injection and had 2 additional oil coolers added to the front of the car. These modifications gifted these GTBs anywhere between 288 to 330 brake horsepower, teamed with a close ratio transmission. Standard suspension components were used alongside Koni shock absorbers, and they were tuned to match the surface of the stage on which they would be competing. The rally cars ultimately had a higher ride height than stock cars. Again, brakes were standard, just with the addition of a brake balance controller, while wider Campagnolo or Ruote Neri wheels were fitted. To save weight, the bodywork was constructed from fiberglass and Kevlar, plus the interior was stripped, including the motorised hidden headlamp mechanism, replaced with a manual one. Additional lighting for night stages could also be added. Fiberglass Sparco racing seats were then installed. In total, Michelotto would produce 11 rally cars to this spec. These Group 4 cars competed in rallies between 1978 and 1983. Of note, Roberto Liviero and Raffaele Pinto won the 1979 Rally di Monza, while Grasoli himself campaigned the 308 regularly, in particular the Targa Florio in 1980. 1970 European Rally champion and multi-WRC rally winning driver Jean-Claude Andruet witnessed the 308 competing in the Targa Florio. He convinced Charles Pozzi to run a team of Group 4 308s in 1981. 4 would be built by Michelotto. The team did not enter all WRC events, but they were successful in a number of tarmac and light gravel rallies. The Pozzi team declined to enter forest or snow events, as they felt that the 308 would not be competitive on such terrain. Andruet would win the 1981 Targa Florio, Rally Quattro Regioni, 24 Hours of Ypres, and the Tour de France automobile. He and his co-drivers would briefly hold the lead in several other rallies too. Group B rules were introduced in 1982, though Pozzi continued to campaign the Group 4 Spec 308s. Andruet and his co-driver Michèle Biche Petit would secure the GTB's best ever result in WRC competition in the 1982 Tour de Corse. On the asphalt stages of Corsica, they drove the number 12 Pioneer liveried 308 to second place, finishing 5 minutes and 38 seconds off the rally winner Jean Ragnotti in his Renault 5 Turbo, belonging to the factory Renault team. That iconic Ferrari I am recreating here. Michelotto began producing Group B spec GTBs in 1982, initially at the request of Spanish driver Antonio Zanini. 4 would be built. The first car shared the same 2 valves per cylinder engine as the Group 4 cars, while the other 3 used the newer Quattro Valvole unit. This produced 310 horsepower after tuning. These cars were also equipped with a quick range gearbox, uprated Brembo brakes, fond metal wheels, stronger anti-roll bars, upgraded suspension, and a quicker ratio steering rack. Group B stipulated that competition cars use the same body panels as their road-going counterparts, so these received the heavier steel and fiberglass panels, increasing overall weight by 30 kilos on the Group 4 cars. The 308 GTB was homologated to Group B specification on 3 occasions from autumn 1982 to spring 1983. During 1983, the Group B 308 was driven to several European rally victories. Zanini achieved third at the 1984 Targa Florio, alongside several wins that would lead him to that year's Spanish Rally Championship title. As I lay on the rooftop number 12, a piece which should extend front to back, you begin to see the scaling issues this model has. Admittedly, the decals are designed to 1 in 64 scale, where the casting is 1 in 55, but the rest of the decals fit perfectly well. It's just the rooftop one that's not quite right, but I'll get over it. Ferrari and Michelotto began development work on a car dubbed the 308 GTM under the Group B Evolution rules. Following the successes of the Group 4 GTB, Ferrari and Michelotto were convinced that a purpose-built Ferrari rally car could be competitive in Group B. The GTM was built on a newly designed tubular frame steel chassis, teamed with a 3-litre 308 QV engine. This was mounted longitudinally in a rear mid position, as opposed to the transverse layout of the road car. The engine was upgraded with new pistons, valves and camshafts, with it now producing 363 to 370 brake horsepower. Power was sent to the rear wheels only. It was equipped with a Formula 1 style dual plate clutch, double wishbone suspension, hydraulic handbrake and Brembo brakes. Its Kevlar and carbon fibre body was designed to replicate the earlier 512 BBLM, influenced by wind tunnel testing of that model. It had large fixed headlights and a prominent rear spoiler, being constructed by Carrozzeria Autosport. The total weight of the car was 840 kilograms, 120 less than the minimum mandated by Group B rules. Ferrari extensively tested the car at their Fiorano facility between 1984 and 1986, lapping the track faster than both the F40 and 512 BBLM. It could accelerate from 0 to 62 miles per hour in under 4 seconds, and was designed to reach a top speed of 170 miles per hour. 3 GTLMs were built. The first test mule chassis, 001, was sold to Belgian rally driver Jean-Claude Blaton in 1984. Blaton competed with it in several rallies in his homeland. Chassis 002 was entered into the 1984 Rally di Monza and driven by Raffaele Pinto, who damaged the rear suspension and finished 4th, behind a Group B GTB. This was later used as a road car by a private owner. Chassis 003 was built for Dutch driver Henk Kool, with work beginning in autumn 1986. Development of the project would cease that year after Group B was banned for 1987. Kool's car was completed in April 1987, but it was never used in rally competition. It has appeared at numerous Ferrari track events. The 308 GTM would be the last Ferrari that received specialised development for rally competition. In fact, the 308's 1986 successor, the 328, didn't have any racing pedigree at all. Famously, the 288 GTO was designed to be Ferrari's Group B homologation car, in particular the 1986 Evoluzione version, again developed by Michelotto. 6 of these were produced before Group B was canned, but these are all stories for another video. It's time now to reconstruct this Matchbox 308 before I can apply some final touches. It was easier to have the casting fully constructed before I applied the last bumper mounted attachments. These include the registration plate, which has been displaced from its usual location by yet another piece of Pioneer advertising, in case you missed the rest of it. Finally, I add in some rear mud flaps which really rubber stamp its rallying credentials. Here's a reminder then just how bad my Matchbox Ferrari 308 GTB looked. A former owner went big on the black marker, covering everything except the underside. It was a bit tricky to get rid of, namely on the transparency, which I've tried my best to rescue. I always liked the red and blue Pioneer branded 308 Matchbox offered, so I wanted to take that livery one step further. And here's how that turned out. With some chunky rubber on those Campagnolo wheels, appropriately painted gold like the real car ran in the early stages of the 1982 Tour de Corse, and using the Le Mans decals, I've managed to replicate the car that achieved Ferrari's best ever result in the World Rally Championship. Inspired by the Matchbox mainline model of the mid-80s, I've tried to capture everything that made the car unique and interesting. It isn't the perfect casting by a long shot, but hopefully you'll agree that what I've done with it has improved it. There's some footage of the car at the 1982 Tour de Corse in the outro, so make sure you hang around to see that and to hear its V8 echo around the steep cliffs of Corsica. Tell me your thoughts on this build down in the comments, and please like and subscribe. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.